Afghan Women and Health by Molly, Angie, and Jayla. Afghanistan Facts. Kabul became the capital of Afghanistan at the end of the 18th century and is located in a wide basin linking India and Central Asia. Topography of the land in Afghanistan consists of both central highlands and foothills and plains. The summers are dry and hot, with the winters consisting of heavy snowfall in the highlands and very cold. Areas in the east are affected by monsoons. The vast majority of the land is covered by steppes, desert areas, and patches of cultivated land. Pashto is considered the national language in Afghanistan, and Dari is mostly used for business and governmental transactions. Approximately 35% of Afghans speak Pashto, and about 50% speak Dari. Turkic is spoken by approximately 11% of the population. These are the most common languages spoken, although there are many more that are spoken. Political system. The Taliban is a Sunni Islamist group operating in Afghanistan and Pakistan. From the mid-90s until his death in 2013, Mullah Muhammad Omar was the leader and then was preceded by Mullah Akhtar Muhammad Mansour in 2015. In Pashto, Taliban is plural of Talib, which means student. Its members consist primarily of the Pashtuns, which is the largest ethnic group in Afghanistan. The poor economy and lack of resources has resulted in an increase in unemployment in Afghanistan. Religion. Islam is the religion most commonly practiced by Afghans. This religion influences much of their personal, political, economic, and legal affairs. Islam requires that one pray 5 times a day at dawn, noon, afternoon, sunset, and evening. Friday is considered the holy day, but many government offices are closed on both Thursday and Friday. Ramadan is practiced in the 9th month of the year to celebrate the first revelation of the Quran, and must fast from dawn to dusk, and may only work 6 hours per day during this time. The mosque, where many pray, are at the center of the village. Foreigners do not have to participate during this time, but are not allowed to eat, drink, smoke, or chew gum in public places. Culture and society. Women are required to wear a burqa in order to cover as much of their flesh as possible. They are not to make eye contact with males and walk with their heads down toward the ground. Males should only make brief eye contact with one another. They are not to be alone in a room with men or allowed to touch in any circumstance. Women and men are never allowed to talk directly to one another or shake hands. Although the majority of Muslim women are not allowed to participate in decisions in daily life, the Shiite women are allowed to have a say in everyday life decisions. Children are central to the Muslim family. Many families live together in a khala, which is considered a wall compound. Arranged marriages are a common practice and are influenced by the tribe they are associated with, along with status, their network, and wealth. Muslims are expected to be hospitable and welcome company in their homes. They are expected to offer the best of what the family has, usually consisting of tea and snacks. Women are responsible for the household duties, and men are considered the breadwinners. In the cities, there are professional women in the work field. Health maintenance. The health status of Afghanistan is one of the worst in the world. It has a high maternal mortality rate and is considered to have an extremely high infant to age 5 mortality rate. Access to quality health care is limited. 1 in 6 children die before the age of 1. It is difficult to maintain health due to the extremely weak economy and lack of money to fund medical facilities. Islamists consider prayer to be extremely important even in times of illness. The inability to pray may cause anxiety and stress. Sun exposure is important to the Afghans as they feel it has healing properties and allows energy in. Disease prevention. Afghans are limited to modern medical facilities and therefore rely on traditional practices such as herbs and animal products. They believe that by ingesting a healthy diet consisting of rice, herbs, veggies, and ingesting only small amounts of meat or poultry. They do not agree with cooking in oil or having their foods cooked to death, and even though they like tea, they try to drink caffeine in limited amounts. External controls are believed to play a role in health. Afghans, like Americans, believe that the things that exist in nature plays a part in being sick. They believe that during the change of seasons it increases your chances at being sick. Views on health. Many Afghans believe that it is the person's primary responsibility for optimal health. They also believe that eating healthy and appropriate foods, staying warm, and getting plenty of rest, as well as following the principles of Islam, will result in optimal health. Views on illness. Personal hygiene is of utmost importance in Islam. They are obsessed with keeping their bodies, homes, and children clean at all times. They view many illnesses such as epilepsy as being caused by jinn or ghosts or spirits. These can be both good and bad spirits or ghosts. If one does not follow the laws of Islam, then one may think illness was caused by this. Many mental health issues are considered to be shameful to the family and do not seek treatment due to the stigma associated with it. They also do not like sharing personal information. Folk and traditional medicine is used for treatment in illness when available. Time and space. Afghan people have different orientations to time depending on the situation. Other commitments or values may conflict with being on time for appointments. Past, evident in tradition and family lineage. Future, observable in hard work and commitment to children's education. And present, observable in social interactions. Space varies with relationship, gender, and acculturation. Space between close friends and family is different between strangers. Traditional Afghan men and women keep more distance from each other. They often socialize in separated rooms. Family system, family life is important. They spend more time socializing with friends and family. Biological variation, Afghan is a mixture of original tribes and foreigners. Cultural factors affecting healthcare. Gender role, sex roles are set in the family, female and male separated in Afghan society. This matter reinforced in the schools, workplace, and social places. Males are aggressive, brave, leaders, dominant, and independent. Females are tender, patient, and affectionate. As a result of their differences in society, roles, and responsibilities, health-seeking patterns are often different for men and women. Countries, culture, and law forbid interaction with males outside the family. Restricted decision-making and mobility. Men have more freedom than female in making decisions. In the environment, 23 years war, drought, devastation under Taliban authorities restricted people's access to health care. Women and children have dramatically high rates of communicable and non-communicable disease, morbidity, and mortality, and a general low life expectancy that is rapidly declining. Social factors affecting healthcare. In rural areas, women and children have limited access to healthcare services, poor hygiene, and lack of water due to culture, political, gender inequality, and language barriers. According to UNICEF.org, about 50 women has a lifetime risk of dying due to pregnancy complications. Limitation of female provider makes females not to seek health care. Environmental factors affecting health care. People in this region have been involved in many challenges such as conflicts and political and civil insecurity, mass displacement, human rights abuses, drought, and famine. This caused health and quality of life being challenged, especially for women and children. Health-related issues amongst Afghans. Life expectancy at birth is estimated around 46 years old. 1 out of 4 children die before their 5th birthday. Conditions for seeking health care for Afghans are dental caries, dermatologic disorders, intestinal parasites, GI disorders, musculoskeletal pain, tuberculosis, nutritional deficiencies, intestinal parasites, chronic hepatitis B, lack of immunizations, depression, chronic malnutrition, respiratory infections, bronchitis, asthma, pneumonia, and risk for being maimed or killed by landmines. Some of these conditions are often preventable diseases. Health status among Afghans is one of the worst in the world. Health indicators are 3 to 5-fold higher than neighboring countries. Health-related issues amongst Afghan Americans. Afghans living in the U.S. for at least a decade often seek medical treatment for diabetes, asthma, motor vehicle injuries, hypertension, and positive cultures for ova and parasites. Common health-related issues amongst Afghan women. Maternal mortality. Only 10% have prenatal and maternity care, and only 6% have medically trained healthcare provider-assisted births. For every 1,000 live births, 17 mothers die. Domestic violence, such as marital rape, can be permitted. Anemia, depression, self-immolation, setting oneself on fire, which young abused wives often feel they have no other way out, has actually decreased from 350 cases per year in Hart Province to cases around 70 per year after a government education campaign. Suicidal ideation and attempts, poor mental health, anxiety, and poverty and malnutrition. Believe it or not, burqas can be very hazardous to women's health. Burqas must be worn, causing many concerns for women's health. They are heavy and not easy to move around in. Their vision is limited due to the small opening for their eyes, so this makes for hazardous conditions when walking outside. During physical exams, they must be worn, and medical care providers must examine them through their burqas, which can disguise health problems. They are also linked to hearing loss, skin problems, headaches, cardiac disorders, asthma, and mental health problems. How health-related issues relate to Afghan women in healthcare. Due to societal restrictions on gender relations and behavior, statistics on women's health are hard to determine and are directly related to their culture. Oppression and lack of women's rights, such as having to be accompanied by a legitimate male relative when in the public. A legitimate male can be a father, husband, brother, father-in-law, or brother-in-law. The lack of healthcare facilities nearby, only a third of the country's 330 districts has a maternal or child health clinic. Mental health services are not available. Because a large percent of women are not educated, they cannot care for themselves and their children as well as if they had been. Most women, particularly those who are rural and illiterate, do not take decisions upon themselves. They are either told by the legitimate man which course of action to take or must obtain that man's permission. Due to the ongoing war and Taliban policies restricting women from participating in the workforce, they have likely contributed to the poverty experienced by most Afghan families. Because of these, women's physical and mental health has declined by encouraging isolation, increased financial hardship, exposure to ongoing war, and family loss. The religion is Muslim, and they follow the laws of the Quran. The Quran encourages Muslims to read, think, contemplate, and learn from the signs of God and nature. Muhammad encouraged education for both male and females. He declared that seeking knowledge was a religious duty binding upon every Muslim man and woman. With that being said, it is sad to say that because of the Taliban control, they have manipulated much of the Quran and have very strict rules for women, and they are not allowed to be out in public unless they are completely covered and accompanied by a close male relative. For their cultural views, Sharia law which is a system of several laws of Islam based on the Quran, is often followed. They rely on traditional practices. Here are just a few that continue the hardships for Afghan women. A man can beat his wife for insubordination. Testimonies of 4 male witnesses are required to prove rape against her rapist. Women cannot testify in court against a rapist. And a woman cannot drive a car. Women often fear the death of men in their families. A widow's plight in Afghanistan is a harsh one. Common greetings and parting comments among women are, "May you not become a widow, and may you not become without sons, because they will be abandoned by society if widowed." As of 2008, more than 57% of population lives within an hour walk to a health facility, which has grown from 9% in 2002. The Taliban has segregated health care so that men and women go to different hospitals. Due to the laws for women, it is difficult for them to reach hospitals. If women cannot make it to a hospital, male doctors have a difficult time treating them because they cannot look at a woman, and the exam has to be done with the burqa on. Very few hospitals have female healthcare workers. There is a lack of educated physicians and nurses to staff the few medical facilities that exist. There is an extremely weak economy and lack of money to initiate new healthcare programs. There are not enough universities to educate healthcare professionals. Missteps would not be made with Afghan women if U.S. healthcare providers would consider these approaches. Healthcare facilities must have a respected female interpreter of the same age or older that speaks the same language. Women prefer to be seen by female doctors. If one is not available, her husband must be present for the exam. Afghan women are very private and are very uncomfortable talking about sexuality, birth control, and vaginal or breast exams. If a request is made for a female doctor to help birth their baby, it is very important to try and have one available. Allow them to have their children with them for appointments. If they are hospitalized, there will be numerous visitors during their stay unless asked to leave. If they are crying, just sit next to them and do not touch them. Your presence is enough. It is important to find out the family's obligations and hierarchy. It is important to understand who makes the decisions in the family. Afghan women might come to an appointment very early to make sure nothing keeps them from missing the appointment. Appointment reminder phone calls can be very helpful. Teaching prevention and health risk reduction can be difficult because they are not future-oriented. We must be sensitive to values and beliefs of their culture. Try to get them to use Western biomedical treatment along with their folk traditions. Some of the ways the Afghan culture is connected to the U.S. and other major world regions are with trade. Afghanistan is the 158th largest export economy in the world. The top exports are grapes, scrap iron, coal briquettes, raw cotton, and tropical fruits. U.S. top exports to Afghanistan are telephones, aircraft parts, computers, poultry, meat, and electrical control boards. It is the 118th largest importer in the world. Its top imports are refined petroleum, peat, raw sugar, wheat flours, and ornamental trimmings. U.S. top imports from Afghanistan are knotted carpets, perfume plants, metal mountings, and rubber products. The top export destinations of Afghanistan are Pakistan, India, China, Iran, and Turkey. The top import origins are Pakistan, China, Iran, India, and Russia. As for tourism, tourism was at its peak in 1977. That's when the 1978 SAR revolution began. Once the security crisis in Afghanistan is made better, there is hope for it to become a major tourist destination. There are many gardens, museums, ancient cities, and other sights to see in the Afghanistan countryside. Immigration. The first immigrants to the U.S. from Afghanistan were in the 1920s. As of 2014, there were roughly 97,865 Afghan Americans living in the U.S. Higher populated regions of immigrant Afghans are Pakistan, Iran, United Emirates, Germany, United States, the Netherlands, and Austria. Foreign aid. The U.S. has appropriated more than $100 billion in foreign aid in the last decade to Afghanistan. Medical missions. There are several medical missionaries traveling to Afghanistan to assist. When traveling to Afghanistan, it is important for travelers to be up to date on routine vaccines, and travel vaccines should be administered, such as hepatitis A, polio, typhoid. They can also be at risk for hepatitis B, malaria, rabies, and yellow fever. The Taliban is another risk for missionaries in Afghanistan. They do not want Christianity to be taught, and they fear spies. Medical tourism. Afghan medical tourism patients and their traveling family and friends currently estimate at 230,000 by the PhD Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Medical visas are free, so if special medical attention is needed, Afghans often head to India. War. Refugees fled Afghanistan in four main waves due to war: the Soviet War in Afghanistan from 1978 to 1989, the Civil War from 1992 to 1996, Taliban rule from 1996 to 2001, and the war in Afghanistan from 2001 to the present time. Refugee camps. The top countries refugees have fled to are neighboring Pakistan, Iran, United Arab Emirates, Germany, U.S., United Kingdom, and the Netherlands. Afghans remain in the UN High Commissioner for Refugees, largest single caseload of refugees in the world for the 20th year in succession. Health conditions in refugee camps are inhumane due to the human waste everywhere because there is no sewage system. Healthcare is absent, and food aid is both necessary and absent. Often, the Taliban will come through in the night and kill people they think are spies or others that go against their wishes. In conclusion, Afghanistan is a country that contains approximately 23 million people. This country and its people have suffered a great deal of devastation for decades. Afghan women suffer the majority of the disparity of the healthcare system in Afghanistan due to their social low status and inequality in the society. According to Dr. Nazreen Khan, approximately 30 to 40% of people do not have adequate access to healthcare services. Inefficient health coverage, poor communication, living in rural areas, and poor delivery of health services have placed many lives in danger, especially that of women, even with 3 years of severe drought, 20 years of war, and 5 years under Taliban rule. The people of Afghanistan made some progress to become a more stable government with the aid of the United States.